Hello and welcome to the Inside Stylist podcast. I'm Emma Morton-Turner and you're listening to episode 26, 10 Reasons Not to Become an Interior Stylist. So this episode was actually going to be a Freestyling Friday Q&A session, but I got a question sent through from the Inside Stylist website, and I've had this question a few times, and it's all about how to become an interior stylist and just basically people telling me where they're at and that they want to become a stylist. And I've had quite a few emails regarding becoming an interior stylist, but with the same sort of vibe coming through. So I thought it would be a good idea to address just that one topic and make that one question this podcast. So without further ado, I'm going to start this episode. 10 reasons not to become an interior stylist. Number 1, you're not really sure it's what you want to do. I think people have an idea of what interior styling is, and it does sound very glamorous doing photo shoots for magazines or brochures. I still get a kick out of seeing my images in magazines nearly 20 years on. It is a thrill, but it's not just making rooms look pretty and taking pretty pictures. And if you don't really understand what the job entails, you need to go and research it. You need to do work experience, which is the advice I give to everybody who says that they're interested in doing it, but they don't sound like they really understand it. You have to go and experience it. You have to go and do at least a photo shoot, like assist on a photo shoot that's editorial and that's commercial, because they're both very different fields. They're very different work in regards to props and how you put them together. And unless you know specifically the kind of styling you want to do, if you want to just be an editorial stylist or just be a commercial stylist, which I think most people do a little bit of both, then you need to experience it to know whether it's really for you. So if you're not really sure, it's probably not for you, or you need to do a little bit more research. Number 2. Now, this one I don't want to offend. There's a couple in here that I don't want to offend anyone. This one is, I've had a number of people saying, I'm studying interior design and I want to be an interior stylist. Interior design and interior styling are very different, very different. They're both interiors, they're both all about rooms, but the way you approach things is completely different. And I think there's a very, very real feeling that if you're an interior designer, you can literally just switch between interior designer to interior stylist. Now, the same goes vice versa. Interior stylists can't just switch and become interior designers. I think from my experience and the experience of friends, a lot of people who are stylists get asked to do rooms for people's homes, and they might get a word of mouth and start interior designing people's rooms, and then they're doing interior design. Or they might do showrooms, because showrooms are very much a shoot sort of ethic, a shoot setup. So it's not a given that if you're an interior designer, you can literally switch to be an interior stylist. There's a very different thing when you're shooting a room as an interior designer. You want to show your style and the whole room. But when you're doing a photo shoot for, say you're doing a photo shoot for a commercial company, you need to make sure that the product is the hero. So you might be doing flowers in a vase, and the vase is the product. That vase has to take precedence. The flowers must be beautiful, but the vase must stand out. Whereas when you're doing a shoot for a room that you've styled as an interior designer, you would want the whole room to show. And getting that hero product through is a real art. I think it's very easy to sit on the sidelines and say, oh, I can make that shot look better. I wouldn't have put that vase there. I would have put the flowers differently. But until you're behind the camera, it's not actually as straightforward as you might think. Hence, the job of interior stylist is out there, and people hire us because we have the experience to make the product stand out, to make sure that vase is the king of that shot. It doesn't mean that you can't be a stylist, but it goes back to experiencing it again. Go get some work experience, go assist someone on a shoot. It doesn't matter how high up in interior design you are, just tag along on a shoot. Get someone, make a contact with a stylist, ask if you can come on a shoot just to see what you're all about. Another pair of hands is always welcome on shoots, because they're so full on. That's another thing. I think interior design is done over a longer time period. It's quite a slower process. I'd hope it was a slower process, because quite often styling is done very last minute, and you literally turn up with a van, fill a room up, make it look beautiful, take the shots and take it all away again at the end of the day. So to have extra hands is always a good thing. The third reason that you shouldn't become an interior stylist is if you don't have patience. It takes a long time to become an interior stylist now. When I did it back in the day, there were a lot of magazines and there were a lot of interior style teams on the magazines, and getting into a job on a magazine was much easier. But now there are hubs, there aren't as many positions, whereas when my first job was on Homes and Ideas, and I was part of a team of, I think there were 6 of us in the homes department. Now you have 6 people in a hub working on 4 or 5 different titles, so there just aren't the same amount of people. So getting into styling is much more difficult. And it's not that you have to do editorial, but most people start with editorial. You do a few shoots editorial, and then you go freelance, and then you get commercial jobs. Now I get the feeling that most stylists come in, or most assistants come in, do assisting on shoots for freelance stylists, and then go out freelance on their own, because that's kind of the best way of being able to control your work. But it takes a long time. It can take up to 3 years to be at a level that you can go out on your own, and that's a very long time to be assisting. But I think the people who I've seen coming through who have been doing it for a long time have experienced a lot of different shoots and know exactly where they want to be, whether that's flowers or very avant-garde or very wallpaper. People know that they want to shoot real homes. They have a very clear idea of where they want to be, and they've also built up a lot of contacts along the way. This job is all about the contacts. It's all about who you know, who's seeing you, who's talking to you, who recommends you, and you only get that through being patient and having a lot of experience of assisting. Number 4, another reason not to become an interior stylist is if you don't have some sort of financial support. Now, I don't ask these questions because it's none of my business, but I don't know how stylist assistants survive right now, because the rates of pay can be anything from £80 a day to, I think, 150, maybe 200 a day if you're doing something like a commercial advert, like a TV advert. But in general, you're looking at around £120 a day. And you might not work every day, so it's very difficult to continue to assist and live, basically. It's very important that you eat. So I think it's really important to have financial support, or like a lot of people, I mean, even when I was doing work experience, I was working 3 jobs. So you have to have a lot of energy, you have to have a lot of jobs with money coming in, and also it's quite hard to have other jobs when you are assisting, because you never know what's going to come up, and you want to commit to, say you want to work in a restaurant, you've got to be there by 7, but if you're over in North London and you live in South London, how are you going to get to the job? So financial support, parents, husbands, whoever is there for you, it's a really important consideration, because if you're thinking you're going to have to be assisting for 2 or 3 years on £100 a day, you just have to be aware it's going to be a long slog. Number 5, another reason not to become an interior stylist is if you're not a people person. I don't think I've ever come across anyone who isn't a people person in this industry. Everyone is super, super friendly, and I think interiors especially is very friendly. I think foodie people are friendly too. I think fashion is very competitive, so they're not quite so much. But in general, and most people who I've had come on my shoots have always mucked in, got on with it straight away. They are a proper team player, and team player is everything in this game. Also, the more people you meet, the bigger your contact list is. And that is really, like I said earlier, that is really important. You need to build up your contact. Number 6. Now, I'm going to just say here, I'm not looking to offend anyone. I'm just saying how it is. Another reason not to become an interior stylist is just because you have a very popular Instagram account. So it's incredibly different styling your home, taking your own pictures, making things look how you want them to look, compared to styling a commercial shoot. The logistics involved are huge. The organisation you need is mind-blowing, and the knowledge and the contacts you need outweigh anything you will ever have experienced. And to go from being an Instagrammer or influencer to a stylist needs to go through a process, and it needs to go through, as I've said, gosh, I'm repeating myself, but it is the same thing. It's the building the contacts, experiencing how you make sure you've got your couriers and your products and your props and your tree from Surrey, everything all lined up, everything to come at the same time, to make sure everything's in the right location. Have you got the location? All those things. Now, I'm not saying no one can do this if you're an Instagrammer. Of course you can. If you're styling things in your home and you've got a look, of course you can become an interior stylist, but it's not an easy, straightforward transition. There's a lot more to it. So I'm not trying to offend anyone. I know I've got lots of friends who are influencers on Instagram, but I think that's something that people should be aware of. There's a lot more logistics to interior styling photo shoots, especially big photo shoots, than you would think. Number 7, you're not organised. Like I just said, the logistics are mind-boggling. If you aren't good with lists, I mean, I never used Excel ever until I went freelance, and now I have all these charts, so I know exactly what's coming, when it's being delivered, where it's coming from, does it need to go back? And then another thing, I don't do many editorial shoots anymore, but when you do an editorial shoot and you have 30 boxes in one room and you have to remember where every single item comes from so that it goes back to the right place, you have to make sure you've got all the labels, everything's labelled up. You know that those red baubles in that box over there are from one shop, and the pink baubles in the box over on the other side of the room, they go back to that shop. But when they're all out of a box and you've just got a whole load of baubles on a tree, you have to remember what goes where. So you have to be super, super organised. Number 8, 9 out of 10 shoots are someone else's idea. And actually, if you aren't willing to produce someone else's style, interior styling isn't for you. The majority of the time you're given products that might not be your style, but you need to make the most of those products. On an editorial shoot, you get a lot more freedom to put your spin on things, to put your look, your style, but you still have to make sure that you're sticking to the brief that you've been given. It needs to be exactly what the client, whether that's an editor or a PR manager or a marketing manager, whoever is setting you up for the shoot, you have to make sure that you are giving them what they've asked for. And that can be really frustrating for someone who's into interiors and you have a real clear idea of what you'd like to do. Now, once you get to a certain level, you're art directing shoots as well. And then people kind of know what you're capable of and will be booking you for your jobs. But when you first get going, you're kind of finding your feet and letting people know who you are and what you're capable of and what your kind of style is. But in general, any stylist should be able to be given a brief and turn it over. So I like very old things. I like painted furniture and gnarly wood. But if someone said to me, I want a really clean, crisp, modern look, I need to be able to give them that brief, which I can. I just won't be feeling it in the same way. Number 10, you don't have ambition. I think this goes back to the whole, it can take 3 years to become an interior stylist. You have to have a very clear goal on what you want. You have to be very specific in what kind of shoots you want to do, where you're headed. So if you want to do just room sets, then you need to be assisting people who do room sets. You need to be being around all the people who have that involved, and you have to really push for it because there are a lot of people out there assisting, all hoping to get the same sort of work. So although I'm a little bit blinded to this. I don't think it's massively competitive. I think we're all in the same boat and we're all helping each other out. But I do know that there is a competition out there, and one job I get, or even one job I get offered and can't do, I push on to someone else, and then that person can't and they push onto it, and then that third person down the line gets the job for the next 6 years. That's how the cookie crumbles, and I think you have to accept that. But you have to have the ambition to want to do it. You have to keep on pushing, keep on putting yourself out there. Keep being very, very positive in the attitude of it. And number 10, the last reason why you should not become an interior stylist is because you don't live for interiors in some form or other. So like I just said, I always sound really poncy when I say this, but I can feel excited about looking at certain textures. I'm in Cornwall right now, and I just posted on Instagram a picture of some copper that was behind a splashback at a tin and copper mine. And I took one look at this and was just like, oh my God, that is just incredible. I love it. I feel that I just can't have enough of it. And I think you have to have that sort of passion for interiors. And for me, it's all textures and gnarly wood and the bottom of boats and scraped paint and peeling paint, all vintagey, Annie Sloaney sort of stuff. But I mean, you might be really into designer style. You might like trends. You might be mid-century modern. You could just have other elements that you just absolutely adore. You have to be really passionate about interiors. You need to be desperate to see what the new looks are, excited to see the new fabric colours, the new paint colour of the year. You need to have that real passion. And if it's just, well, I like dressing my home and it's really nice, so I think this might be a nice job to do, then you're not going to get very far. You've got to be passionate so that you can be ambitious and you can stick with it till you get the job. So I think that was a little bit repetitive, but I think everything kind of crosses over. So do you think you've got what it takes? I've got to say, I've been massively impressed by a lot of assistants recently. And these questions that come in are from people who are just a little bit lost at the moment and not quite sure where they're headed. Like I said, I've had quite a few emails with the same sort of vibe of, well, I think I'd like to be an interior stylist. I'm doing interior design and I really like doing this. And I've got 2,000 people following me on Instagram whilst I do my house up. Maybe interior styling isn't for you. Maybe you should go down the influencer route. But just be aware, interior styling is incredibly hard work, massively rewarding, massively passionate about, well, I'm massively passionate about interiors and finding great products. But yeah, it's not as straightforward and fun. It's definitely not glamorous when you're carrying sofas upstairs and laying carpet and slapping Christmas trees on the hottest day of the year. It's not all the rose-tinted look that people might think. Anyway, I hope this is useful. I hope I haven't offended anyone. You can get the show notes to this episode over on insidestylist.com/not a stylist. Did you hear that sneeze? I'm in a cottage in Cornwall. My husband just sneezed outside the door. Sorry about that. So, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have any questions you want to send through, please do email them. You can leave comments on the website. You can message me on Instagram through the website. You can email me emma@insidestylist.com. I'm going to be doing some Q&A sessions where I had lots of questions coming in and I answer lots of different ones. I just felt this was a theme that came up a number of times and would be needing a little bit of a deeper dive. So that's it for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. Bye for now.